Hi everyone. Hope everyone's day is going well. Today, I'm going to take a bit of your time to talk about Seaspiracy, a new documentary that just came out, and why it is so problematic. First, I would like to say that I'm not a film student, or in the film industry, or in any other areas that are topically important to the film outside of environmental studies, and the thoughts and opinions that I have are entirely my own. Notwithstanding this, I do believe that I have the capacity and logical understanding to critique and analyze this film. Before we start the film and criticism, I would like to outline the fact that Seaspiracy, even though it has issues and problems, is a good film that is worth watching. It covers some startling and honestly disturbing issues similar to Blackfish, so if you were disturbed by that, be aware, with vivid imagery and concise storyline.
Japan has confirmed it will resume commercial whale hunting and is withdrawing from the International Whaling Commission.
The country's whaling fleet set sail for the Antarctic last Tuesday. Tokyo says it plans to kill despite a worldwide ban.
I would recommend watching it and looking at it analytically by yourself before watching this video, or even after, in order to understand why it is so problematic and why the issues it presents are so important, yet presented badly. Now, for those of you who don't know what Seaspiracy is, it's a film made by Ali Tabrizi, a documentarian from Britain who traveled across the world in 2017 filming his documentary Seaspiracy. Put out by Netflix, Seaspiracy is a TV-14 rated show that runs for about 1 hour and 30 minutes. The documentary follows the journey of Tabrizi, highlighting his love for the sea and how much it means to him. The basic plotline is his journey, and we the viewers are watching him uncover more quote-unquote conspiracies in the fishing industry and the whaling industry that impact the ocean.
My only option was to follow the money, so I did. And sure enough, there it was. Of course they're not going to talk about fishing nets. The Plastic Pollution Coalition is the same organization as the Earth Island Institute. These are the same ones who are behind the Dolphin Safe Tuna label, who work with the fishing industry to sell more seafood. No wonder why they don't want to talk about the leading cause of plastic pollution in many parts of the world.
By the end, it turns into a very classic vegan documentary about the impacts we the consumers are having on the ocean, not the industry. Now, this is a very basic plotline in summary, so I would definitely recommend watching it, as it is on Netflix, and so it's very accessible on there. Seaspiracy has been receiving a decent amount of debate from the fishing industry, conservationists, marine biologists, and others. It highlights some very big issues with the fishing industry, and it has caused backlash due to this. I am not here to support the fishing industry, but rather to critique how the documentary is created, how it is shown to the audience, and how the issues that Tabrizi has created or represented in his documentary is portrayed. Now, before I begin my video, I would like to highlight some videos that show both sides of the issue, and would definitely recommend watching them. Telly's Marine Tales does a great job of establishing the issues with the facts presented by Tabrizi, and does a great and fair way of critiquing the facts presented by him. Another video, which was put out by Francisco Alvarez, does a great job of looking at the documentary and the impact it has on us as individuals. Let's start with the plot. Also, I'm not going to spoil here what happens in the story in case anyone wants to watch it, but I will go over a few things that I thought were great or problematic. So, I actually enjoyed how the plot and story is told. It is very compelling and inspirational, and Tabrizi does a great job of creating a story that is engaging for us, the audience. Now, I do have a few problems with the plot. In a documentary, the author, or presenter, whatever fits best, needs to be able to take a step back from the subject and look at it objectively. Tabrizi, by putting himself into the story, does make it a bit more engaging and accessible to the wider audience, but also lowers the objectivity of the show. Also, he puts himself into the center of the story, so instead of focusing on the issues of the ocean, we are focusing on his journey. Lastly, and most problematically, Tabrizi makes it into a movie, not a documentary. Not a call to action, but rather an action-filled adventure. Now, this can be fun for the audience, but it kills the meaning of the documentary. In the trailer, there are constant statements about how dangerous the circumstances Tabrizi is putting himself in, and how he might die.
Would you say there's any safety concerns for me making this film?
The safety concerns are serious. And I think ignore them at your risk.
There might be dangerous circumstances, but the way that Seaspiracy presents it, it just looks like there is so much risk to the crew and people putting on the show, and it turns from an objective show about the danger of the sea into a non-scientific, action-packed adventure. Also, these statements do seem overblown, especially how they are presented. So, those are some of my basic ideas about what are some problems with the plot. The ones that I could catch anyways. So, let's move on. Okay, so now, after going through the plot, let's discuss the much larger problem that Seaspiracy brings to the conservation and environmentalism table, and the generalizations and the one-sided arguments. Seaspiracy, even though it takes us through a pretty all-encompassing journey throughout the story, in the end really boils down to the problem of overfishing and the fishing industry. It gives us one option to solve this: go vegan.
With so many plant-based alternatives emerging for almost every seafood product I could imagine, I realized the single best thing I could do every single day to protect the ocean and the marine life I loved was to simply not eat them.
Even though veganism and eating in a way that can help preserve fish stocks is important, Tabrizi misses the entire point by focusing on this one way to solve the entire issue of the ocean being in peril. This is actually really dangerous because it ignores the other issues that exist, such as climate change, plastic, and other forms of hunting, for a fit-all solution: veganism. Now, I personally have nothing against veganism, and I honestly believe that it's a valuable pursuit, both morally and environmentally consciously, but in the end, especially in this case, making a generalization about how we as consumers can solve the entire issue by cutting out fish actually does more harm than good in the end. On the other hand, Tabrizi also perpetuates the idea that all oceanic conservation organizations are inherently bad.
And yet, for the most part, they are silent. They're not speaking out against it. They are...
Right? He lumps in all of these different conservationist organizations alongside some that probably are problematic, such as Dolphin Safe Label Organization. In the end, Tabrizi and Seaspiracy creates a performative way to solve an entire very complex issue and delivers it all onto a platter for its viewers. This is what Tabrizi is doing, right? The ocean is in trouble, fishing is the lone cause, and there cannot be any other causes, so we all must go vegan. In the end, this is actually more problematic than doing the little things that Tabrizi was doing in the beginning, like picking up plastic and donating to organizations. So this is the big problem with Seaspiracy: generalizations and faux activism. Okay, so now we are going to look closer at the experts and the individuals he brings in. Now, this is a really nuanced and difficult place to look at. So, Seaspiracy manages to create a balance, or create the illusion of a balance, between activists and actual scientists amongst its experts. The scientists in Seaspiracy are there to provide logical context to the issue. And the activists that Seaspiracy brings in are there to explain how the issues are occurring. Now this, at its surface, might not seem problematic. However, it creates a faux presentation of expertise in order to create an illusion, not purposely. In order to illustrate this, I'm going to put up this infographic of each individual and what they will do and how much time they've talked. Now, having activists as sources is important, but also understanding that activists have inherent biases that are not predicated on science is also important. Seaspiracy gives us these experts and wants us to believe that they are all we need to justify us going down this path that it is arguing for. The activists all spin something that we are supposed to believe. Yes, these activists might be knowledgeable, but looking at the disparity in the amount of time that the scientists spoke compared to the activists, it is clear to see that this is problematic. In a vacuum, this is highly problematic because it removes the actual logic and science behind the claims that Seaspiracy is making, and it spins it so that Seaspiracy looks highly credible. Lastly, and probably most problematic, is the high prevalence of Sea Shepherd. Now, I actually, again, really like Sea Shepherd. I believe that they do important work and that they actually have some logos to add to these arguments, but in the end, they are a violent organization. Some courts and countries have labeled them as an organization that operates in tactics that are more than a bit iffy. Do I believe that they are? No. But this is something to take into account when making a documentary that should be objective. I actually think Seaspiracy does Sea Shepherd a major disfavor by featuring them, because it actually, in the end, ignores the issues that Sea Shepherd is fighting against and asks the audience to become passive activists through veganism. It also alienates support for them through alienating other conservation organizations. So those are my big problems with the experts that Seaspiracy brings in. Now we are going to look at the facts. To do this, I'm actually going to focus on two specific problems and facts that Seaspiracy presents. Now, I would recommend watching some videos put out by marine biologists and experts in these fields because they do a great job of highlighting the issues with these specific facts. Again, the video links will be at the bottom, but Telly's Marine Tales and Marine Science Cafe do a great job at examining the quote-unquote facts that Seaspiracy presents. Now, I will be focusing on two specific issues that Tabrizi presents, and why it is so problematic on how Seaspiracy presents them. These facts I chose because they are areas that I actually know a bit about, and these are areas that I believe are misrepresented the worst in the documentary and are highly problematic. So, first, we're going to talk about sustainable fishing and sustainability. As someone who is highly interested in environmental studies and has dedicated a lot of their time to this, I believe that I am able to discuss this. So, Seaspiracy really attacks the idea of sustainability and tries to disprove the idea that sustainability can exist. They use gotcha journalism tactics, which I will talk about a bit later, to try and disprove the essential ideas in conservation. Seaspiracy then attempts to paint sustainability as actively not going to work. However, sustainability has been shown to work across the world. Tabrizi has no factual basis for these claims, and it actively points the viewer towards practices that are more harmful than practicing sustainability. The second claim that I believe is troubling is the issue of coral bleaching. Although Seaspiracy does technically acknowledge that coral bleaching is caused by climate change, it completely ignores it for most of the documentary.
Digging deeper, I discovered this was also true when it came to coral reefs. With scientists predicting the loss of 90% of reefs by the year 2050, the only mainstream narrative on why reefs were dying was climate change. But hardly anyone was talking about the fact fish were vital to keep corals alive.
Tabrizi then proceeds to spin the rampant death of coral as an issue caused primarily by the fishing industry. This is highly problematic because it serves only to further Tabrizi's call to action: eat vegan. This acts like other issues, such as climate change, simply don't exist, and the sea industry is the number one industry killing the world, but that is clearly not true. In the end, this is really problematic because it ignores other issues that have many scientific reports backing them up, such as the fact that coral bleaching is caused by climate change. It pushes the watcher towards blaming only the fishing industry. So, what are the end impacts of Seaspiracy? Seaspiracy does, in fact, succeed in many areas. For one, it creates imagery that sticks with the audience and pulls them into the plight surrounding the ocean. It makes people want to care about the ocean, but obviously fails to turn that into any action. It does, in fact, touch on many issues that are problematic, like the fishing industry, the whaling industry, and the sharking industry. These impacts all exist, but the way that Tabrizi portrays them are problematic. The entire way that Tabrizi spins it as a larger conspiracy and wants to find something that might exist to a small degree is problematic in the end, and the call to action is the biggest issue. In the end, it is a very nuanced problem that involves multiple issues and some truth and some falsehoods. I think that Seaspiracy brings some valuable ideas to the discussion about how the ocean is treated. It brings a very valuable lesson and is insanely important in creating coverage and discussion about a very real issue. However, it does this in a way that has falsehoods. ignores other issues, and ends with the cry that we the consumers have to bear the entire burden of these issues. Seaspiracy does not address the problem accurately and is actually quite problematic itself. Seaspiracy has some inherent problems within it, as I have elaborated above. In the end, it is a valuable show to watch, and I was honestly very excited to watch it in the beginning. I think if you are to watch it, you should definitely take some time and analyze the content Tabrizi is bringing and how it is being portrayed. Alwithstanding, I would definitely recommend a watch, but again, make sure you are understanding the issue and the problems that Seaspiracy has. So, thank you for watching, and I hope I didn't take too much time out of your day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the Magic Board for more videos like this.